Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world of G-scale. Tonight we're going to discuss certain aspects of the G-scale train hobby, and we'll be going through a couple of the play-by-plays and discussing a few techniques and some details and other pertinent information of the indoor Ghost Rock and Western Railroad. Today's date is October 7th. I believe it's a Friday. Right now we have one train running on the Mountain Line, pulled by two GP30s, a Rio Grande and a Burlington Northern. As you can see, I have been a busy bee. One of my favorite endeavors in G-scale is to indoor G-scale is to make scenery, and as you can see, I've been busy. The wall mural that you see in the background was painted by me as well. This is Mike Annenberg, your narrator for the Ghost Rock and Western tonight. Let's start off with a little bit of humor. Here we have Hugo Chavez and his Citgo oil company back in early 1960s. This is his early beginnings. Hugo Chavez right here as a young man driving his Citgo hauler back in Venezuela, right here actually on the Ghost Rock and Western. You're looking at the two main lines on the Ghost Rock and Western indoor G-scale layout, and tonight we'll be running a Circus train hauled by three 040 steam engines made by Bachmann. They are Spectrum, and which Spectrum means that they have better pulling power, better gearing, and more longevity than some of the cheaper Bachmann products. Number 1 is in the lead, number 2, and number 3. The Circus train is made by Bachmann as well. We have a Bachmann tender. The supply car of the Emmett Kelly Jr. Circus. I believe these are the Calliope cars, which house the Calliopes. My custom animal cars consist of a giraffe and a peacock, a zebra. On the next flat car, we're featuring a tiger and a lion, and another flat car featuring a rhinoceros and double bears. On the next flat car, featuring double gorillas and a hippo. Do not feed the hippo. There's plenty of them out there anyway. This cheetah has its own ideas, escaping from one of the flat cars, no doubt, and finding his way into the elephant car. Perhaps it's the stench of the elephant car that is attracting the little fellow. Now we're getting into the exotic menageries, and we've got Emmett Kelly himself, who seems to be broke and is looking for his next meal ticket. In the next employee car, we've got no passengers, but we can see in the back there are a couple of people looking out the back window there. Probably a couple of musicians. There's the conductor. The water service car on the Circus train is a necessity, especially in the hot summer months here at the Ghost Rock and Western. The musician flat car featuring the miniature midget clowns, the conductoress, Olive Oil and Popeye, and the robot from Lost in Space. The leader of the pack, Superman, and our old friend Gumby. Pulling up the tail is the bobber caboose with the automatic cleaning device on the track for continuous cleaning. So there you have the entire Emmett Kelly Circus car, and we'll be running that in just a little while. Here's a view at ground level on the mountain side of the Ghost Rockin' Western. And as we pan over to the left, we'll catch one of the giant oak trees that have been there since the beginning of the century. Here's another scene from behind the mountain. I've got to run the train slowly through the mountains because it's very rough terrain. We're pulling a multi-car train through the mountains. It's known as the Wood Train at the Ghost Rockin' Western. Here's an aerial view of the mountain area of the Ghost Rockin' Western. You can see the tourists are traveling through, stopping at the gas station, and the future general store has not been erected yet, but it is on the way. The train approaches, and I'm going to get another scene through the pass right here. These are 5-foot turns, folks, and for you novice G-scalers out there, 5-foot turns are something to be avoided with that of the large length of trains that are being manufactured today. We're limited to GP30s, F units, steamers, and some of the smaller manufactured diesels. But as you can see, a 5-foot turn is easily negotiated by the USA made GP30 Burlington Northern and Rio Grande. The GP30 Burlington Northern and the Rio Grande both have tremendous pulling power, especially to pull them through these 5-foot turns. Every car that you see, every custom car that you see, save the Smokey the Bear car there, has been custom made by me, kit bashed, customized, what have you. And I think it's time that we take a look at the players in this particular drama. You know, in this hobby, we usually find things out and about at swap meets, yard sales, toy stores, things like that. And the memories that it brings back over the last 15 years that I have been a G-scale model railroader are quite interesting. I'd like to share a few brief stories about each car here and the players in today's Ghost Rock and Western drag. Well, this is an MDC motorless engine, a diesel. It's been kit bashed by me. Probably, most of these are over 10 years old. The flat car itself contains some of the popsicle stick wood and some oak siding. This is recently has been putting some chain on here to keep everything taut on this flat car. The next one here is a recent one as well. The flat car was manufactured years ago using coffee stirrers for the deck, but these particular Shell 55-gallon drums were purchased at the last train show 2 years ago, and I've only found them to be recently used on this flat car in this application. The Bobcat obviously is being transported to a different part of the country, but the 55-gallon drums provide equal weight over each truck, and each one of these cars have some weight to them. They're pretty hefty, but the train itself is a hefty train, which hence I've got to use 2 GB30s to pull them along these 5-foot turns. The next player in the game is this custom-made flat car. It's a Bachmann flat car. It's got plastic on the top there, no wood, but these are also a big train show item that I picked up. They're just copper spools being transported to over to Ghost Rock a little later. Some of the other details that I placed on the flat car for interest include a broom and some old copper wire. This one here was made at least 10 years ago. The Shell Oils tank car was a Toys R Us item. It came with a plastic tractor, but I painted it and put a couple decals on it to represent a farm implement. This tractor here is a die-cast Ertl piece, and I built the flat car from a kit bashed from a Bachmann kit as well. The next one you can see is 2 plastic tractors. They're very lightweight, and I placed them on another flat car made by Bachmann, and I customized it with some popsicle sticks and basswood on the side. Basswood is similar to balsa wood, but it's more dense. And in the back there we can see a garbage car. The garbage car is full of all kinds of stuff: coffee grinders, seed from the farm, flour, metal junk, old tires and rims, train wheels and old tires and such. It's an old SP. It's an old SP unit. And the Ghost Rock and Western purchased this at an auction long ago. Probably one of the first pieces that were put into service on the Ghost Rock and Western. Let's move ahead a bit. That'll do, engineer. All right. The next car on the roster is another flat car by Bachmann, but it contains cases of Budweiser. This man here is enjoying a bottle as we speak. This is a Just Plain Folks provided the character in this particular play, and he's hauling some old tractor tires back here, off-road tires for shipment. The Budweiser, who knows where that's going. This car on the wood train today is a short base from a caboose, I believe it's an Aristocraft caboose. This is an Ertl piece as well. It's an old 2-ton tractor. Purchased that at Sandval many years ago and was placed on this car's service just as many years ago. I'm going to guess near 10 years. Most of this whole train was put together over 10 years ago. This is a old tuna can which I lined with coffee stirrers and put a top on top of it to simulate a water car. This is a Bachmann piece as well. I named it Quailstone from the quarry from the north end of the state. And it's hauling in some ore. It's a 40, I believe it's a 40-ton. I'm sorry, it could be a 100-ton simulated Bachmann 3-bay. And the next one here was a custom car completely. These two trucks that you see at the bottom were put on by myself. I cut a flat car in half and I customized it to fit the Bachmann steamer wheels from an old junker and a couple of the details as well. This real grand boxcar comes from a Bachmann set. It was for sale on eBay and the computer individually. You can't buy them individually from Bachmann, but when people buy sets and break them up, you can usually find these obscure cars and buy them without having to purchase the whole set. All right, let's move the train up a little bit, please. That'll do. Smokey the Bear. This is a USA product. Well, what can I say about it? It's prevalent here in the mountains. I think Smokey the Bear is a character that always reminds us to please only you can prevent forest fires. This is a Delton piece that contains a quarry load. It has proper weathering on it, and many years ago I experimented with paint and chalk to simulate weathering. I'm pretty proud of it. It came out pretty nice. Here's another, I believe, a Aristocraft base for a caboose as well. I'm not quite sure where I got these. Perhaps this one came from my friend in El Paso, Texas, Larry Lemansky. He had some junkers laying around and he gave to me some of the old stock junk that he didn't want, and I might have taken that and manufactured this car myself. There's a medical department Army ambulance and some other supplies. And the last supply car is a old Civil War supply car with cannonballs, cannons, gunpowder on a Bachmann base. This is a Bachmann Barber caboose base, and the fencing and other details were done by me. And last but not least, the railroad police from Union Pacific with the ever-present cleaning device there. It's always important to note the cleaning device, because I believe that when you clean your track continuously as you run trains, you'll have a much better time running your trains. There'll be no mishaps with dirt or plastic or debris that's on the track that you might miss, or having to clean the track by hand. Although sometimes certain areas of the track gets dirty, curves and things, I usually will clean things like that by hand, but I think 95% of the time the automatic cleaner at the bottom of these are well worth it, and they've been proven to work successfully over the last 12 years. As you see, I'm running the trains quite slow. I think I mentioned before that running the trains slowly over the mountain loop is safe. just as in prototypical railroading, when trains go through the mountains, they run slower. Most of the time they're usually going uphill, and they're pulling the train up the hill when the engines are working hard. And with the curves and other dangers that lurk through rock slides, debris, things like that, animals, it's always best to travel slowly until you get into open terrain. Here's a nice scene. You can see the fire post in the back. The fire post overlooks the entire valley and makes sure that we don't get any unwanted fires in the forest. Bambi seemed to have lost his way. Let's hope that he doesn't try to cross the track. There's a couple of fellas discussing the weather. And nearby are resident coyotes. Now, another feature of my Ghost Rock and Western indoor G-scale layout is that I've got the whole entire layout is on tables. You can see the legs. They're on 4 by 8 foot pieces of 1/2-inch plywood, and it allows me to walk between the layout as well as under and over, which allows me to get camera angles unlimited. Unlimited camera angles provide for an excellent experience at the Ghost Rock and Western. Recently, I have gone to a city in New Mexico called Ruidoso in the mountains of New Mexico, and we had to pass the White Sands Monument on the way between Las Cruces and Ruidoso. And the white sand that you see here, which simulates salt, is actual white sand from the White Sands Monument in New Mexico. I decided to get a bottle of it, stop by to the side of the road and get a bottle of it and place it at the bottom there of the Tres Hermanas Montañas, which is one of the tourist attractions off of Route 66. Here you see the different activities. Fred's Snack Bar, the Tres Hermanos, no hermanas, hermanas es allí. Tres Hermanas. Caverns. Welcome to Tres Hermanas Caverns. And people are lining up as we speak. They're coming in to buy tickets. People are selling wares. And there's a lot of activities, as well as seeing the largest gold nugget in the world. You can get food, ice cream, gifts, cold drinks, and spiritual nature tours are available twice a day. And pan for gold. The largest gold nugget in the world is seen here, being guarded by one of the local security guards. Let's pull back now, as we can see the last pass of the Rio Grande Burlington Northern GP30 train through the mountains. We'll be moving on after this. All right, well, I'm trying to get some other camera angles here, and because I'm being quite patient in taking photographs of this area, I hope I can squeeze in all of the information that I'd like to give you in the next hour and 40 minutes. These mountains that I've constructed are known as the Cedar Cliffs. It's a name that I've given them because of the color and the sheer siding on the side. It's quite a sight. And if I can get a little bit of an angle over here, you can see the other mountains in the background that complement the Cedar Cliffs. Down the road here, we're going to kind of see a future development. In here, there'll be an Indian family that lives within the mountains. And in this crevice here, I'm going to try my luck and make a river out of some indoor materials. I believe the water material can be bought in crystalline form in packages, and I'm going to, the river's going to continue all the way through, but the Indian family will have a little encampment of their own within the mountains of the Ghost Rock and Western. Another scene that is soon to come. There's a lot of scenes on the Ghost Rock and Western, and I'm trying to make as many as possible because it always provides interest when people look at my railroad, and the more scenes that there are to see and details, the more enjoyable your stay will be. I've just parked a couple of these cars here myself, here for now. You've seen them before. I've made them out of the front trucks of an old 10-wheeler, that as well as front trucks of an old 10-wheeler on the Bachman, I believe Larry Lemansky in El Paso, Texas. Another G-scaler extraordinaire gave me a junk 10-wheeler once, and I cannibalized it and tried to make use of it. They do run on the track. The couplers are hook and pin, but I can customize it on one side in order to pull them both. I usually pull them with the USA speeders that you've seen in the past. Maybe I'll get a shot of those a little later and you can get an idea of what the speeders can do. The mural was painted with simple brush strokes that I learned from a magazine, and with a little bit of talent and a little instruction from the book, I think I came up with a pretty good scene of 3 layers of mountains. Distant mountains in the back, hazy blue sky, closer mountains in the middle, and a forest closer up to the foreground. And the brush techniques that I used simulate a thickly wooded area near the foothills of the mountains. And again, some of the trees that I got are being used to fill in the mountain area of the Ghost Rock and Western indoor G-scale model railroad. I like this scene here, the double track main coming right through the Cedar Cliff area. We'll see the trains run on these 2 tracks a little bit later. But for now, let's take a look at the giant power. We have big power up on the top here. We've got the LGB F7s. We have ABA unit, and I'm pulling a very long train on this particular track. I have included every SP piece of stock that I have, and then some. So I'd like to introduce you to some of the players of that game as well. We'll go along real fast, and then we'll run them for you. This is a USA car from Hans. It's a custom Southern Pacific Black Widow. USA manufactures this car. I've always liked the colors, and me being in the moving business, I figured Allied Moving Company adds a point of interest on the railroad. LGB, Canada. These cars are quite large. LGB makes a lot of big trains. Their scale seems to be larger than Aristocraft and USA. This is a depressed center SP utility car with a working headlamp, a working spotlight, I mean. And this is a hydro cushion, Black Widow scheme, hydro cushion red, and this is a new edition that I got. This was something I found on the computer for sale. I didn't make a real good deal on it, but I paid a fair price for it. Probably the same as retail. It's a 53-foot USA product. And my newest edition, I picked this up about a week ago, another 53-foot USA hydro cushion Southern Pacific. I was looking through the catalogs at USA, and I noticed this car, and I thought, you know, this would make a nice addition to this particular Southern Pacific train. Another USA product, a Union Pacific boxcar, and since UP and SP have merged, they go quite well as peanut butter and jelly, ham and eggs, and cookies and milk. A small Rio Grande piece. These are old cars. This is a Delton car, and I don't get to run it much, but it's a turn of the century old wooden boxcar from the Southern Pacific Company. The logo is a little bit different. Sunset route, but back then things were different. Here's an outside braced USA product. It's a refrigerator car in the black Widow colors. Another USA reefer, Southern Pacific, Pacific Fruit Express. Aristocraft Southern Pacific overnight Black Widow. Southern Pacific boxcar, Aristocraft. A flat car from Aristocraft was a wood load. Another Aristocraft product with a pipe load. And these cars are Aristocraft as well. They're carrying logs. This is a work caboose, another Aristocraft product, and a famous silver caboose, and the ever-present cleaning bobber. The cleaning device can be seen at the bottom next to the pole. Now that you've seen all the players in the game, let's run this train and we'll get some good train action in. There she goes, down the straightaway, along the wall. tell you, if I was on that bridge, I'd get scared. I kind of feel sorry for those guys chasing each other up on that bridge. When that horn sounds, I'd be scared. I'd probably jump in the river. The LGB F7 Southern Pacific Black Widow. And as the curtain falls on the drama that we've just witnessed, we'll move on now to the to the next scene. And I think we'll run some trains on the main line, including the Circus train. Here's a scene that you've seen before. Around the bend at the Ghost Rock and Western G-scale indoor layout. My name is Mike Annenberg. Welcome back.
Look, Henry, the circus is coming to town. Why, let's get down to the depot and watch it go by. Here it comes.
That concludes the Circus Extravaganza segment of this program. Thank you for coming back. My name is Mike Annenberg, and this is the Ghost Rock and Western Indoor G-Scale layout. Right now we're going to be passing through the western part of the layout. What I mean is Western Town. This first scene that you see here is some Hungarians, or they could be Amish. Amish people, perhaps? No, Hungarians. They must have been coming west in their wagon train, and there seems to be a problem. The wheel broke, and Ma and Pa, Pennsylvania, are fixing the wheel. We'll move on a little bit on here, and we're going to see the town of Ghost Rock. The old town of Ghost Rock, with its turn-of-the-century mixture of old automobiles, wagon trains, men on horses, and yet turn-of-the-century western Arizona, New Mexico deliveries being made. This is a town that is approaching the 20th century, and in the old part of Arizona and New Mexico, there are a mixture of people and technologies, horses as well as automobiles. Stagecoaches were used still back in those days. Whoop! Santa Fe passenger train is passing by. A wedding is going on underneath the gazebo. Some of the passengers are waiting. We'll get an aerial view of the Ghost Rock town. And we've got details such as live buffalo and other animals that are awaiting water. You can see the old Civil War man back there. He's conversing with one of the old cowboys. This is back of one of the wagons. I wonder what's up for grub. What kind of grub are they making tonight? Hey, listen, you gonna rustle up some grub for us tonight? Looks like we got a lot of hungry Hungarians there. The other side of Ghost Rock is a depot, a freight depot. The Cottontail Depot is one of my oldest buildings. The interior is crude. It has a bathroom in the back and a couple of amenities, including a phone. That's an LGB porter pulling 3 LGB cars, followed up by a Bachmann caboose. Tonight, there's a union meeting. People are gathering around the Coke machine on this hot summer day, enjoying a beverage. These figures are all from Just Plain Folks. He's a man who sells figures at the Big Train Show. By the way, the Big Train Show, if you haven't heard, is moving. They are not going to be at the Queen Mary anymore. This is a milestone. The Queen Mary is no longer the venue for the Big Train Show. I believe the latest Garden Railway magazine indicated that it was going to be at the Ontario Airport Convention Center. And that's so people that are flying in around the country can easily get a hotel room. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea that they have it at the Ontario. I think I'll go. I'll be going to the Big Train Show, and I hope that I can convince some of my friends to join me. Let's get back to the action. Little Miss Kitty Cat is waiting for her prey. Anyway, as we look down the track, we're going to approach town. The circus train is stopped, but we're going to go forward. As you can tell, I've been busy. From my last videos, I have been quite busy landscaping and doing some scenery techniques. The Bachmann Brothers Freight Dock. It's a very famous landmark of the Ghost Rock and Western. Bachman Brothers. 7 brothers and 1 sister. I wonder where Amy Bachman is today. This is a slow-moving train. The porter easily pulls these 3 cars. I'm particularly fond of these LGB cars. They're well detailed and they're well made. The Drover caboose, they're not being manufactured anymore. You can get them in the Denver Rio Grande colors, but I don't, and Colorado Southern, but I don't think the Santa Fe Drover caboose is being manufactured anymore. But hey, that's what they said about a lot of products, and then they come back and they remanufacture this stuff at half price. I understand Rosie O'Donnell hasn't kept her mouth shut lately. You know, New Mexico's got a great balloon festival in Albuquerque, I believe it is, about this time of the month. I think it's October. One day I'd like to see that. Maybe when I'm 70 and retired. I'm standing in the doorway of my workshop area of the structure of the that contains the Ghost Rock and Western. We still haven't really witnessed the upper level trains. The upper level train is the players in the upper level train are all USA reefers. Ones that I've collected over the years. I believe there's about 22 or 23 up there, and they're all being serviced by 2 GP38s. Unfortunately, they're hidden behind the LGB Sumter Valley. But if we coax them a little bit, I think we can get the GP38s to appear. We got a GP9 Southern Pacific helping out. Let's get a good gander at that. There we go. Let's get a good gander at those strains. Yes, it is. That's another 5-foot turn up there in the back. GP30H, GP30s, 5-foot turns, 8-foot turns. They seem to negotiate pretty well. I wouldn't try it with an SD40-9, you know, heavyweight passenger cars, extruded aluminums, never work. Gotta have 10-footers, at least. They say you can run them on 8, but to an experienced railroader such as I think you're better off, as well as my colleagues. A lot of my colleagues in this hobby also agree. You've got to have nice sweeping curves for a long, heavyweight or extruded aluminum. Some of those cars are 32, 36 inches long, you know, it's unbelievable. Alright, as we step inside the workshop, I'm going to back up here and show you my workbench once again. The workbench is plenty of light. And I'm working on something here right now. I'm going to make another cleaning device. I really believe in these, and I think I've got 6 of them now. I need another one. So I'm making a 7th cleaning device. This is your basic Bachmann logging bobber caboose. And what I've done is I've taken an LGB 51050. I'm sorry, a 5005. That's the part number for this, and I've put on a couple of green scrubbies. I had to cut here. I had to cut off a portion, maybe about a 1/4 of an inch of each side of this device, in order for it to fit inside you see how nice it slides right in there? It's almost made for it. It almost fits exactly. I drive a couple of screws in there, and the thing is pretty much centered up. Plenty of spring action, and put a little weight inside of it, and there you have it. You know, there you've got it. Another cleaning device. I'll be marking this car with the Wells Fargo Express logo. These are magnets, refrigerator magnets that I purchased in the Schrader's catalog. And I'll be putting these on the side of this car. I was thinking about painting the caboose, but I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm just gonna leave it just like that. Maybe weather it up a little bit, and that'll be that. I'm also working on these. I'm coming up with some ideas on how to put a load inside here, and I've got an idea. I think I'm going to be putting some wadded up newspaper, and then I'm going to grab some of this stuff here and use it. It's called plaster cloth, and it's a paper that's impregnated with some plaster. You dip it in water and you place it over the shell and over the base of it, and the wadded up newspaper will go in there. I'll tape it down, take some of the plaster cloth and fold it over. It's wet. You wet the plaster cloth, and I think I'll just make a mound of it. While it's wet, I may use sand or some of this substance. The substance I'm speaking of is, well, I can't seem to find it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah, I just want to show you what this is here. This substance is a pumice stone, I believe. It could be gypsum. I found it in the field in the back of my house here, and if I scrape it with a small knife, I get this fine, lightweight, powdery substance. I believe it's pumice. It looks like pumice stone to me, a giant one. And pumice is a lightweight substance, and if I spray this plastic cloth with adhesive, I can sprinkle that pumice stone over it and get a nice effect. But will I have enough for 22 cars? I've got 22 of those MDC hoppers underneath here. It makes for a nice long train. This is where I store my trains, in the Ghost Rock and Western indoor G-scale layout. And I can hold most of all the stuff that I've got. Of course, a lot of the stock is on the tracks. I've got a supplementary cabinet over here that holds more. Right now I've got Bachmann reefers in here, a lot of Bachmann tank cars, and some miscellaneous stuff. This is a tray of a bunch of crap that I haven't put on the layout yet. What you're looking at is the last bits of details that I possess. Everything that I possess is here in this building and on this layout. I don't have one bird, one small broken animal, dog, cat. They're all out there on the Ghost Rock and Western. Although hidden in a lot of places, it still makes for a fun adventure to see exactly what we're talking about. For instance, I'll take you over here to the Santa Cruz Church. The Santa Cruz Church, there's something going on here. You can see the little gato. The gato and the pájaro. Yep. It's a stalemate. First one to move gets it. They've been at it for quite some time. All right, well, the farm area is down there, and we'll be visiting the farm a little bit later on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to retire for the evening. It's getting kind of late on this Friday night, and I'm going to sign off now, but we'll continue tomorrow. And although I finish these videos in record time now, I used to take weeks to, change things around and do some other stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what we can do. We'll get all the trains running at once. We'll get some nice action going. Maybe the 50-foot box cars. Maybe show you a few of the kits that I've developed. And steam. Live steam as well. I mean, not live steam, but heavyweight steam. Live steam is something I don't really think about much, but we'll be doing some heavyweight Pacific and Mikado by LGB. So, for now, I'm going to sign off, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Good night for now. Continuing now with the video, the date today is November 6th. It's a Sunday, or 5th, November 5th. I'm going to be showing you how to add a load, how to make a load for the MDC Santa Fe ore car. It's a single bay. First of all, we have to cut a piece of stock out, 8 inches by 3 3/8. The piece of stock can be masonite or some sort of a lightweight material. As you can see, the top part of the car can be fit in proper. I can't hold the camera myself as well, so I've got to do this with one hand. If I can show you how tightly the fit is. There we go. See that? That fit in just flush. Nice and flush on top of that. And the next procedure will be a layer of perlite. Now, perlite is a white substance that resembles small pieces of lava rock. Actually, it's kind of a foam. It feels like foam. However, it's very, very lightweight. The granules are the size of coal rocks, and I'll be showing you how to paint it to make it look more realistic. But this perlite is excellent for this type of application because it's so lightweight and won't overweight the cars, so you can pull multiple cars behind your motive power. I own 20 of these MDC ore cars, and we'll be running all 20 behind a train later in this video. But first I must finish doing all these cars. I've only done about 8, and I need to do 8 or 9 more. So the next time you see this video continue, it may be sometime. It could be toward near Thanksgiving. Well, I'm going to sign off for 1 second so I can prepare the mixture and the other technique to show you exactly how to do this step by step. Alright, I've got the camera sitting stationary, so I'd like to show you with both of my hands exactly the next step it is to making one of these cars. I'll be placing some Elmer's white glue directly on the top of the car, on top of the masonite piece. I guess it'll be an equivalent of about a couple of teaspoons of glue. And we're going to be covering it quite well, and we're going to be spreading the glue around with our finger. You want to spread it to every corner of the masonite. Don't worry if you get it on the car a little bit, that's not a problem. In real life, coal is always spilled and left on the sides of the cars, and I'm sure some spills onto the track as well. Alright, once we've got the glue spread like this, okay, the glue is spread. Alright, I'm going to take a handful of this perlite here, and I'm just going to drop it right over the top of it. I'm going to cover each little area, cover the entire flat surface with the substance perlite. This is a gardening application substance. It holds moisture, and it's similar to the foam that you see at Walmart or Kmart to make fake plants and different foliage home pots with that green foam that you see to crafts areas and things like that. Now I have my piece of wood, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of push this perlite down in a flat surface like this. What I'm doing is kind of covering and crushing each square inch of the top section of this load to make sure that I have a nice base connected to the flat piece of masonite. This will ensure that the glue will take, and I'm crushing this down. Alright. Crushing it down. I'm going to make another pass because I think it's needed. Maybe a little twisting motion on the stick to grind it right in. Not too much pressure, just enough to kind of grind the small perlite simulated coal rocks right onto the top. Alright. That will also leave some loose tops here. What I usually do is just give it a little bit of a wiggle to some of the loose areas can be knocked away. But the next procedure would be this. What you're going to be doing is putting another layer of glue, but you start in on the inside of the car a little bit. In other words, you're going to make a little rectangle here, and you're going to fill it all in. Fill it all in with glue. Okay, I'm filling it in with white Elmer's glue. But I want to make sure that I'm filling in every line. It's kind of like a graph that you're drawing with the glue. You're making a nice little mound of Elmer's white glue in order to build up the load realistically. More perlite on top. Cover it completely. And use your fingers to kind of spread it out a little bit. But again, we need the wood to set and crush the coal down on the next layer. Don't worry about excess rocks. They'll all be removed automatically. We're just setting. We're setting the rocks into the glue. By the way, I learned this kind of a hit and miss procedure because, you know, you make mistakes as you go along and learn. But you'll see it in some of the ore cars that I've got on the track. Some are a little over dramatic. They're a little full. But it's better to be over dramatic than under dramatic. I would rather see a nice full car than a load that has a deep, a droop in it that is unrealistic. Now this beats buying the loads too on eBay, where they sell trains to people all over the country and the world. There's a lot of different things that you see on the computer, but some guy is selling loads for this, but he's getting $7 or $8 per load. But they're all the same. They all look the same, and they're all made from a mold. And you know, guys can just drop them right into the ore cart. Yeah, it's okay. If you want to pay $8 a load, I have fun doing it myself. In fact, every load looks different. Height, sizes, color. Color's basically black, but you know, it's a little bit more personal satisfaction doing it by myself. Now, the third layer, we do the same, but the rectangle that we're drawing here is smaller. See, the more rectangles that you draw with the glue are slightly smaller. I'd say about a ½ inch. We're going to do 4 layers of coal. This is our third layer. And we're filling in the lines. Filling in the lines. You really can't use too much glue. It's all going to soak right in. Just want to make sure that you get enough on there to handle all the rocks that you're going to be putting on. Okay, there's our third layer. And I'm going to take more perlite. And start to take shape now, see? Starting to take a little bit of shape. The excess can fall into the tray. And I'm going to kind of shape it up again with my stick. A little crush action there. Not too much pressure. You don't want to crush it all the way down to the bottom. You just want to build it up. And you want to crush it through. The more you crush it in, the more stable it becomes. But again, you don't want to overdo it because you don't want to crush the stuff down to the level of the side of the car there. Alright. Got a little excess up there, see, but we're going to do one more. We're going to do one more cap. And you want that pretty much in the middle. So you're going to make a tiny little, maybe a 2" by 2" square of glue. Actually, it's a rectangle. A square has 4 equal sides. A rectangle is 2 equal sides and 2 other equal sides of a different measurement. You probably learned that in geometry. I failed geometry in high school, and that's why I had to resort to doing the model railroad. Otherwise, I could have been a rocket scientist, but I wouldn't meet many girls that way, being a rocket scientist, I guess. But, I don't meet many girls as it is. And all the ones I meet end up going home after a while anyway, because I guess the railroad, I guess they don't like the railroad. I don't know. That's a story for another time. But anyway, the final hump, as you see, will be added and crushed down. See how that nice dome goes over the top there to simulate a load that was loaded by a loader. Alright, okay. Well, we've got some excess here, so what I usually do is kind of, give the car a knock. And get rid of some of the excess on the sides there. There we go. That does it. Now I'm going to crush it down just a little bit. Give myself a little bit of a shape here. Don't want it too unnatural looking. I want it to be kind of natural. Alright. Now, the next step is to apply the first color. What I've mixed here is a mixture of water, black acrylic paint, and a tad of Elmer's white glue mixed into a mixture. So when I drip the colors onto this, as you can see, or if I just kind of touch this, what I'm doing is putting the first coat of black onto the car. I don't want to get it too wet, but this is also very good for the sides. So just kind of do the sides like this. Now I'll be picking up some of the rocks, but it gives it a little more texture, as you can see. Texture seems to be flowing. Ah, yes. Excess rocks they'll stay. We've got a little bit of a glue solution here, so they're going to stay. If we lose a few, it's not a big deal. And the excess will just go right back into the car. Let's do this side over here. Let me zoom in on this so you can see what we're doing here. Yeah, there we go. Zoom in on this and kind of get you the idea of what we're going to do here. We're kind of coating the sides now. Get a little bit wetter. Turn the car around. Again, you want to measure it so you don't really get it too wet, but yet you are coloring the coal. This is not the last step. This is just another step in the final result of this coal car. We're almost there. We need to a little bit too much excess on here, but as long as I wet it down, they'll stay where it's supposed to stay. There it is. There we go. Once the perlite is wet, it stays put a lot better. I guess we could use a spray bottle and then apply the first coat of black coloring, but it doesn't really, I kind of like to mix up the coal a little bit. See, it's starting to have a little bit of character. It doesn't look so flat. It has a textured, rough look that a load of coal would have. I got a little too much liquid in there. That was my fault. I've never had that done before, but I guess in my haste and my hurry, I feel like I'm wasting tape here. But you got to get your rag and just kind of wipe that off. All right. There you go. I'm just going to wipe that off there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, now, for the final step, I've made myself a guard, a paint guard. And this is going to go right over the car. What it does, it fits right perfectly underneath the lip of the car there and protects the lettering of the car itself from the spray paint that I'm about to use. I'm using, regular old Walmart paint. A little shake. I'm going to draw back a little bit here so you can see what the heck we're doing. Alright. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm going to get the final black coat. Oops, looks like we got a few straggling rocks, but that's alright. I could have wet it down a little bit more, but I turn the piece like this, and I want to make sure you got a good coat of black paint on top of that perlite. Don't worry, the railroad car is protected. Make sure you get all the areas, every angle, because the perlite's hard to cover if you just do it from one angle. There we go. That should do it. I think that looks about right. Remove the paint guard. And we're going to double check to make sure that we haven't done any kind of overspray or anything. Doesn't look like it to me. Turn the car around here. Looks like we've got a little bit of water here. Got to blow off some of the dust of these cars. They've been sitting in my shelf for quite some time. Well, there you go. That's it. As you can see, we have a nice load for the Santa Fe MDC ore cars. And now, how long did that take? I'm not sure, but I'm going to go ahead and place it on the track and add it to the rest of my cars. And go ahead and let it dry. I'm going to show you some of the cars that I've already done. This is the one that we just finished. Here's the one that I did yesterday. Oh, I can do 3 or 4 actually. I did 3 or 4, and this is one of the first ones I did. Notice how high the load is. Also this one. The load is a little high compared to the rest, but that one there especially. That's a little overdone, but I got a little carried away. But as I get better, all the cars have become a little more universal. There's the the black sheep of it there. I've got a sand load in one of the cars. It's something that I did using Kleenex and glue and plaster and sand. I decided to leave it, and the rest of the cars as well. Anyway, there's your, I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 or so. It's a train of 12 cars. I guess I've only got 8 left to do. But once they're all done, it's going to make a very impressive long coal load. And the motive power for these two will be the Burlington Northern GP30 and the Rio Grande GP30, both USA products. You might notice the scenery in the back. That's the scenery that I've been working on as well. And I made a few changes to the layout. Right here I have a future water, there's going to be a river here, and there's going to be a waterfall coming out of here, and I'm going to have an Indian encampment. It's another scene on the railroad. There's really no origination from the water. It could be coming in from underground if you like, but that's something I've been working on as well. So anyway, back into the workshop. We're going to say sayonara for now, and I'll be talking to you as soon as the drill gets a charge on it so I can cut some more wood. triple U boats, all lubed up and just out of the shop, taking them out and blowing the carbon out of the cylinders. Triple U boats hauling a long oil tank car train through the mountains. And there you see an over and under shot. The circus train is waiting to depart. Let's see if we can fire it up. 00040s, number 123. Now out yonder we've got the ABA F7s. Let's fire those babies up. Here we go. This train's got all Southern Pacific, Union Pacific stock. Long freight train with all SP and UP. Here come the U-boats down the line. Welcome back. Today I've picked out the Blue Bonnet Santa Fe's to do the honors. Here comes a trio of U-boats. And the blue train that I've decided to run today, the star of the show, is the F3 Blue Bonnet colors. Well, that's going to do it for this 2-hour production. I hope you've enjoyed some of the scenery that I've completed over the months, including the wall of trains housing the 52 and 53 foot boxcars here, including the heavyweights and some of the other stock down there. Gives me extra room to store some things here. So I'm going to say goodbye. Adios. Until next time.